Hi, I'm Christina Tidwell. I'm a registered nurse and holistic health coach and founder of Live Well with Christina. And today I wanted to come on and talk to you guys about exercise and autoimmune disease. And so this is something that a couple of people have recently been responding to my newsletters with, asking questions about how to start an exercise program, what kinds of exercise to consider when it comes to autoimmune disease. And so I just wanted to get on and talk a little bit about it, because there are definitely some things we do need to consider when it comes to choosing what types of exercise. So for me personally, I grew up playing sports, grew up playing soccer and basketball, even though I was horrible at basketball, and running cross country, playing tennis, all of these things. And it was great and wonderful, and felt really good. But I was diagnosed with autoimmune disease when I was about 18. And I was running a lot at that time, a lot of long distance running. And I was just kind of used to the whole grit your teeth, push through, keep going, no pain, no gain kind of mentality. And then sort of intuitively, as I was trying to figure out how to best deal with my autoimmune symptoms, I sort of gravitated more away from this, running and more intense forms of strenuous exercise to yoga and walking, a little bit more low to moderate intensity exercise. I got really into yoga when I was like 17 or 18, and I haven't stopped since. So I kind of intuitively knew back then that type of exercise was something that made me feel a little bit better. And when I was running, doing this long distance running, I ended up feeling, pretty good because you're exercising, but feeling really depleted afterwards, and was noticing that it was affecting my symptoms in a lot of different ways. So I don't think I fully understood then what was going on physiologically, but I just intuitively sort of knew that I needed to make a shift in the ways that I was moving my body and exercising because of some of my autoimmune symptoms. So what I want to talk to you guys about today is just a couple things to consider. So when it comes to exercise and autoimmune disease, I want you to think of it like kind of a U-shaped bell curve there, where on one end you have sedentary lifestyle, no exercise, not doing anything or having any movement, and on the other end you have the real high intensity, strenuous, possibly over exercising here. So where do you think you are right now on that continuum, if you had to say? If you are in the more sedentary range where movement or exercise seems hard or unattainable, there are some reasons for that, especially with autoimmune disease. So if you're someone that suffers from joint pain and makes it really hard to move or do exercises that you used to be able to do, you might find that you feel pretty limited. And if that's the case, I really, really recommend working with a physical therapist to help with range of motion and to keep moving, because what we do know is there are a lot of studies and research that shows that being sedentary, even if you do have joint pain, isn't a good idea, and keeping moving in a way that's going to feel good is really great. And I don't think I don't need to tell you guys all the benefits of exercise. We hear that all the time, that exercise improves bone density, regulates hormones like insulin and cortisol. It can decrease risk of cardiovascular disease, diabetes. It can affect our mood. We know all of these great things about exercise, but when we're in a place where it feels really hard or unattainable, it can be difficult to jump in and do anything. So we know we want to keep moving, but if you're someone that has, chronic fatigue or struggles with thyroid or adrenal issues, and the thought of even just getting through the morning of a work day is tough, let alone, suiting up to go to a yoga class or go to the gym, I fully understand, and that's okay if you're there. A lot of times with my private coaching clients, exercise is not something that feels that feels good or reasonable right off the bat. So we do a couple of things like focusing on some root cause things, switching around diet, balancing blood sugar, increasing energy, improving sleep, all of these things to have a better foundation so exercise feels a little bit more realistic. So if you're there, if you're in that place, I want to say, it is important to move and to keep moving, but that movement doesn't have to be anything intense. If the thought or idea of going to the gym and running on the treadmill for an hour while staring at a screen sounds horrible to you, join the club and don't do it. So just get outside and walk around the block. Do some easy stretches in your house. Walk around. I call it active living. It sounds kind of like old lady, but don't discount that is activity and movement, and that exercise doesn't necessarily need to look a certain way. So on the other hand, if you're on the other spectrum where you maybe are an athlete or have been used to going to the gym every day, or kind of doing some of this more high intensity strenuous exercise, there are things you need to consider on that end too. And so exercise is wonderful, but there is such thing as having too much of a good thing. And we oftentimes aren't really told that. We're told to keep pushing and going and moving. And when I was, doing sports and cross country, learning about, pushing the limits of my body and doing things I didn't think I could do was great and wonderful and felt really good. So I'm not saying that's bad, but if you are struggling with symptoms of autoimmunity or burnout or anything like that, it's really worthwhile to evaluate how your exercise is making you feel. If I were to go on a really long run right now, I would be gritting my teeth. I'd be pushing through afterwards. I would feel so depleted and horrible that it's not something that makes me feel really good. But if I go on a really long walk or do some yoga or strengthening or more gentle cardio, I feel great and energized. So just evaluate, see where you're at right there. If you are a self-proclaimed, exercise junkie, think about, how is this making you feel? Exercise, is a stressor on our body. It's a good stressor, but it's a stressor on our body, and it does release some stress hormones. So too much of this can be a bad thing that can affect our immune system. And there's also some research that shows that it can affect our gut as well, and possibly increase intestinal permeability or leaky gut if we're engaging in this really, really intense strenuous exercise. So what is strenuous exercise? It's hard to define because it's totally different for everyone. So this is another one of those things where it's like, it depends. For one person, going on a 3-mile run might be really strenuous exercise. For someone else, that's easy. Walk in the park, you do it every morning. So evaluating what feels strenuous and what feels good for you. I have to say, I really have a lot of clients that are in this over-exercising category, especially, I think, as Americans, we grow up thinking that we need to push and achieve and push through pain, and we kind of don't realize what this pain might be telling us about the way in which we are exercising. So it doesn't mean you have to stop exercising completely. We don't want you to do that. That is not advised. But just thinking about different ways you can exercise and making sure you're giving yourself adequate recovery time is really important. Getting enough sleep, having good nutrition, all of these fundamentals and basics that can allow your body to perform in better ways, but also mixing in exercise, more low to moderate exercise like walking and yoga, and maybe even biking, things like that. Can be really, really helpful to mix it up. And I do find that just pulling back and allowing your body that time to rest and heal can make a really, really, really big difference. And, exercise should be fun. It shouldn't be a punishment for what we ate or how we're feeling. It should feel good, and we should feel energized afterwards. So just take an inventory and note and see where you are at with that and how it's really truly making you feel. Get honest, because on either side, we can be kind of hard on ourselves and not be totally honest with how we're actually feeling. So let me know, tell me in the comments here, where do you think you're at on this continuum, and how is it affecting you and your autoimmune symptoms? Even if you don't have autoimmune disease, but you struggle with fatigue, or you're on the other end and you're trying to get into an exercise routine, all of these same things still apply. So let me know. And if you want to know more about kind of this, getting the foundation right, like, improving sleep, and making sure that you're flooding your body with good nutrient-dense food, balancing hormones and blood sugar, and increasing energy so that exercise sounds reasonable and like a viable option, let me know. You can click the link below this video and book in a free call with me. We can talk about what it might look like in your life, what kind of exercise might be beneficial to start, or on the other end, what it might look like to scale that back a little bit, and how you can support your health and your digestive system too in other ways. So I hope that's helpful, just to give you a broad overview about exercise without going too deep into exercise physiology or anything. But let me know your thoughts on this. And hopefully it helps give you just kind of a different idea and different perspective, especially about exercise when it relates to autoimmune disease. All right, thank you.